have women be allowed a place at the table as far as democracy and public governance are concerned. And as we mark the 33rd, as it were, anniversary of that pivotal incident, or if you like, event, the question is, are women doing better today? Are they participating more effectively in the space? Well, we're joined by a woman who has been, if you like, saying both sides of the coin: private leadership and, of course, the public sector space. Zainab Buba-Galadima is our guest on the program this morning. She is a politician, an entrepreneur, as well as a poet. Zainab, I would like to say a big thank you to you for joining us virtually from Abuja this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great. Okay, so we're starting this conversation basically on the basis of the June 12 commemoration. We're doing a countdown to that. So the bulk of our engagements on global television will be directed to that very pivotal moment in our history as a country. But with you this morning, we want to focus on the place of women as it has to do with public governance. Of course, in this regard, you hear people talk about the late Kudirat Abiola, whom is largely believed to have paid the supreme price, part of which is also largely thought of as a fundamental contribution to what Nigeria today regards as democracy. How much of inspiration, by your own assessment, do you think women have drawn for more than 3 decades now, or can draw from that incident?
You mentioned how far have women gone, and if women are better off now if they have made significant progress. Yes, a little bit. Women have been appointed into various positions, ministers and stuff, and women have been elected into various positions, from councillor to House of Assembly members, House of Reps, and Senate. But the number is relatively very low, and Nigeria ranks globally as one of the lowest countries, one of the lowest numbers of women participating in politics. So in governance and politics generally. So it's been relatively low, and Kudirat Abiola, as you mentioned earlier, has been a strong and fearless voice who has promoted pro-democracy, activities, and also she paid the supreme price. And what women should draw from that is the consistency and the courage and fearlessness that she has demonstrated over the years before, since the annulment and which led to her death. So yes, but still we're still, lagging behind when it comes to all of that. And as it's getting, as we're growing, it's getting more, dangerous for women, as some women would see. So a lot of women feel it's not a space for them. It's not somewhere they should be. But we do need a lot of women, because a lot of women have paid, because of our numbers, have contributed so much in terms of voting and so many things in Nigeria and beyond. So I feel like women should, be given a chance to participate fully.
Myself, Kudirat Abiola, there's still Margaret Ebo, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, and Gambo Sawaba. Now, all of these women, and even many more, do you think they are being recognized, nationally for all their contribution to democracy? Do you think they're recognized enough? And do you think maybe the recognition they are getting or not getting is part of what, is pouring women into politics, or maybe restricting women in politics to delve into politics?
Obviously, there's not enough recognition, and not many Nigerians, or not many not many Nigerians or women or young girls know about this woman, because let's face it, history has been something that has deteriorated in the Nigerian system. So and people that know of this woman have also realized that they faced a lot of challenges. They were incarcerated at some point. So a lot of women do not want to go that route. So I think it takes courage, for a woman to be able to stand for something, that would put her on a level as they did. So really, they're not being recognized enough, and I feel like it also has made made a lot of women not put in more effort into being so active in that sense. And also there are so many challenges which has made women to step back from governance or elective positions or politics. Really, it's because of the high cost, the stigmatization, the a lot of risk and challenges which women face, and they do not feel they have that zeal, or they have that space or support that they should have. And I think because of cultural and also religious barriers, a lot of women have been disenfranchised from participating fully.
Would be your own kind of suggestion to how they should be more celebrated? I know that there has been a push for reserved seats for women. Is that not enough? And what should be done? What should be done better?
Well, they reserved seats on paper, but not in practice, because still it's getting more and more difficult. For example, the cost of governance is getting more and more difficult. Political parties have made it so difficult for women to get tickets on their platforms, because first of all, the cost of forms are very expensive. You have to have somebody willing to buy it for you, or you have to have enough funds for you to be able to do that. And then besides that, you have to have logistics money. So a lot of cost goes into that. And there's not really that encouragement and that support from men. It's like a struggle between, people, between the men that, they want to be in power, they want to dominate that space. So leaving it very difficult for women. And it's really a vicious space where some women, for example, they feel like, they really just can't do it. So there's not much encouragement and not much support in that form. And I feel like it should be reconsidered, and maybe the cost should be reduced, because now it used to be free and you just pay 10% maybe nomination fee, but now most parties receive like 50%, and it's just really hard for women to be able to participate.
Nigerian women, especially those that want to delve into politics, need to re-strategize. I kind of feel, my opinion though, but I really do feel that it's more of a competitive approach. There's something called I don't know if it's the right words to use, but do you think there needs to be a kind of re-strategy? Example, now you talked about funding and how some women cannot afford. I know it's a very expensive terrain, politics in Nigeria. Talking about financing, buying of forms, nomination forms, and all of that. But they used to say, this is me just thinking out loud. They used to say that women have their own kind of power, a woman's power. Have we come to that point where women have thrown their power now to compete with the powers of the men? I don't know if I put it right, but I know you understand what I'm talking about. Is there such a thing as that they are not utilizing to be able to get the results they want?
Well, I don't know what power they're talking about, because when you talk about any other thing that goes beyond your values and your principles, because maybe that's the power they're talking about, then you really would not last. They would just toss you around and, but I think there's this thing that a woman needs to have, maybe extra courage, being fearless and stuff. But once you are that, they gang up against you. So it really, in any way you try to, you try to come up, they try to put you down. So maybe there should be some men that really believe and can pick some women, mentor them, and stand by them. Because really, we can't really do much without them. That is given, we can't even deny it. And for women that can do that, they have to be some kind of superwoman, so but even at that, even the men need the support of the men, and we also need everybody's support. So we need that kind of support and that kind of strong support behind, whether man or woman, it doesn't really matter, but somebody that would be able to hold your hand and push you out there till you stand on your feet. That is what we're lacking, generally in the political space or in the leadership space. We lack mentorship. We lack that kind of support. So sometimes, yes, cost and funding it really matters a lot, but still that support is the ultimate. So, and we lack that. So for that kind of woman power and that kind of thing, they must be, maybe to my own understanding, they must be talking about something. And I don't think for a woman of value and principles, she probably, doesn't need to have that kind of power, because if she does, then she could easily fall at some point in her political or, leadership life, path. She can fall.
The woman's power is her femininity, and that's the kind of power that I'm actually referring to. Does it work in the political space? Did we see this in the lives of our past heroes? Of course, the women that fought for, in their own way, democracy. Do you think femininity is a thing that is an advantage for a woman that wants to delve into the political space?
Sometimes, but it's really a rough path. It's really a rough path. So sometimes when you use your femininity, it doesn't really work for them, because you're struggling, you're competing with them. So they really don't care. They turn a blind eye into, but it might work sometimes. You might get your way, it's through diplomacy, through, trying to network and stuff like that, giving them that kind of importance. Because let's face it, everybody, in the political space wants to be valued, wants to be given that importance. So maybe as a woman, if you give them that and they see that, okay, this is somebody that could be loyal. But that means, you have to have a godfather, you have to do this, you have to do that. And, they might try you. So it might work in some places, but like I said, for it to work, sometimes you have to have somebody behind you, and maybe you need to use that power wisely, and you need to use it in the right places to be able to achieve what you want.
Well, I'm not referred to as double standard or hypocrisy. They say every time we have an election round, especially the general election cycle, you see women, in some cases, some of the best of them, all right, educated, experienced, widely traveled, exposed, even highly resourced, all right, running around the men. I mean that in the most decent sense, rallying around them, queuing behind them, giving them support, campaigning for them, all right, and doing everything needed to help the men win election. Whereas the women, and very interestingly, on the other hand, are practically begging women to throw their weight behind them. Could that be an indication that even women themselves do not yet fully believe, or have not yet fully come to the realization or conviction that a woman can be a governor in Nigeria today, and there's nothing wrong with that? A woman can be the president, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it appears for the most part women are largely satisfied with appointive opportunities.
Yes, I think it's lack of ambition, and also, like you said, a lot of them rally behind the men because maybe they believe these are people that will, maybe a woman, you have to try extra, and they really do not want to give that effort. They really do not want to give extra effort into supporting a fellow woman because they feel like maybe in the, in the middle or, along the line, she might give up and stuff like that. So it's a mindset thing, I think, that, some women have been conditioned to think that some other women are incapable because that is what we were made to believe. So what you said is true, and I think they need that woman to be able to give them that, change their mindset about how things should be done, and how maybe if she believes in herself, somebody else, other people would believe in themselves. So I think it is a mindset that has been conditioned, away from that place that only a man can do it. And that means let's not just waste our time on this lady and stuff like that. So it's just a very, sad situation that we found ourselves. And I wish we could change the way we think and the way we do things. Because when you look at the numbers, really, women have a significant influence when it comes to voting, when they decide, if women decide to come together and, support one another or make a decision unilaterally together, it's going to change the whole dynamics of things.
Follow up into that, and this particularly touches on party politics. I know, yes, Priscilla asked you a question a while ago, and you did say a thing or two in passing in that regard. There's the belief largely that for us to have a democracy that truly works and delivers the goods for the people, reforms must begin from within political parties, and that means that the leadership of political parties, whether the ruling party or those on the opposition side of things, must be such that women play a very pivotal role. Women must have their voices heard beyond just being woman leader in each of these parties and things like that. At what point do you think, given the reality that we have in front of us today, that we can have such reforms advanced in such a way that women can actually, in the real sense, hold their heads up high?
When we have more women participating, because truly, when it comes to politics, a lot of women shy away from it because of the, perks that come with it, because of, the challenges that come with it. A lot of women prefer to just, step back and not be part of it. I think the more we join, the more women are encouraged to join, the more they join, and the more the space is being sanitized, and the less, what do you call it? As women see, the less dangerous it becomes, because once we saturate the space, it's easier for women to vie for many political positions, to support one another. Like I said, the mindset is very key. So there's this mindset, there's this thinking that is being put in the head of women that, oh, okay, politics is too dangerous, politics is this, politics is that, they will call you names, they will do this, a stigma attached to it. There's this barriers, cultural, and, once we disabuse the minds of women and they start to join, a lot of women will find themselves, because you cannot be in a space and just be useless. So once we get women in there, and then that is how they get to participate and they get to filled positions, and from then, it's baby steps, because we've been way behind, to be honest. So it's going to take a lot of work. So for women to be allowed to hold positions in political parties, they need to join politics, and we need to disabuse their minds to think that, it is not as bad as they think. They think, and if they're not there, really, it's just the people that are manning affairs that will continue doing that, and we keep being behind than being involved and being, partners in this journey.
All the advice and all, and talk about the future. But let's start with the recently concluded primary elections across the various political parties. Now, what is that thing that you would factually point at to say women got wrong across political parties from your own assessment?
Well, like I said, a lot of women got it wrong. First of all, it is a mindset thing. 2, a lot of women do not participate in politics, which we need to change that. Because truly, politics should be everybody's concern, because no matter how laid back you are, it affects you. So we need to understand that there is need for everybody to participate. It doesn't have to be, running for office or anything, but at least participate so that it can change the way, we do things. It can, there will be, it won't just be some particular set of people that decide for us. So, during this primaries, there has been a lot. I think it is one of the worst primaries I've ever seen across all political parties, because first of all, the new Electoral Act has enabled political parties to run their primaries by direct primaries, or otherwise, based on agreement, but basically direct primaries, and this has caused a lot of chaos across it. When you hear about it, truly nobody that likes peace or would want to be part of it, that kind of thing. So it's been really, it's been really stressful for most political parties and chaotic as well. So there are a lot of things. So a lot of women have been disenfranchised, because that costs a lot of money, because you need to mobilize people, you need to mobilize card-carrying members of your party, and it's just been really, and it has gotten women where they have been locked out of. Do you understand? It has really amplified that fear in women that, this is really not for me, because first of all, the cost has skyrocketed, beyond what and most political parties have, I think they charge 50% for form. So, and the cost is quite high. I think maybe the cheapest in the maybe 3 top parties is about maybe 3 to 4 million, which is, a lot of money to come by in this day and age. So it has really been a really sad reality, to be honest. So I really, I can't say much, but from my own observation, this is what I've come across, and I think we need to do something about it.
I'll take with you on this conversation. Zainab Galadima, I was just going to ask you if you were still in active politics and what the experience has been so far, beyond what we talked about the last time. But I think we're going to have to KIV that in the meantime. But just, let's take a break and then we'll get you back on shortly for maybe a bit more of these conversations. Do stay with us, everyone.
Okay. Hello? Okay. Hello?
See this link, then return.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Apparently, there's no better time to talk about women in politics, especially now that we have the general election approaching real fast. It's a matter of months
Which
now.
has already started, because it looks like Nigerians do not understand that election has started already. But
Okay, so it's only politicians who understand that.
Politicians are the only ones that understand. There are people that still have hopes that on elections they will see a woman on the ballots. And primaries are going on now. You've not seen any woman emerge. I don't think I've seen any.
No, exactly. The only ones that could have emerged, we hear they are fighting with the parties. In the case of Aisha Yusufu, I mean, a lady who is very vocal on the side of Peter Obi, particularly on the internet, couldn't clench the senatorial ticket for the FCT, so she was giving the Ahmad Buhari House of Reps tickets. We understand that she's not pretty much cool with that. So we've seen videos of her having a back and forth sort of engagement with her party leaders. But some people are saying, look, Aisha, you're an amazing woman. You do a lot of work for the country. You do a lot of things by young people in particular. You stir them up, make them understand that they have a place in the leadership of our country. But then activism and advocacy are in one bag. Yeah. Politics, especially as it has to do with Nigeria, is in a different bag altogether. So you've got to realize that you don't understand the latter just yet.
Yeah, I also think that, a lot of Nigerian women have not come to terms with the reality of our political landscape.
So you think that they're fantasizing?
Well, they are not being realistic and logical. For example, when the new electoral act was being signed,
right.
I don't know if women took it to see in details what it meant. It meant that you would have to go and mobilize people, just as our guest said. You needed to go to the grassroots. It was at that point you needed to start working, because you are up against these men that understand the terrain. So you needed to do more all night.
Right.
If you did, yeah, that's what it meant. You couldn't. You cannot sleep or cross your legs while they cross their legs, because they have gone ahead.
Yeah.
They understand the space. So you need to do twice as much as they are doing. But we saw a lot of women just, okay, we went to protest, oh, it's fine, just expecting that when the elections come, the men will smile.
To be a walk in the park.
But the reality is that it has not been so. So if you say if we say, because I am a woman, if we say we want to take over, then we know that we have to work twice as much as what they are doing now, because these men are not sleeping. They are not sleeping. That's why the fact that they have understood this space and
as the men, right?
As the men, they are not relaxing anyway. So whatever it is they are doing, you're going to do double or even triple of what they are doing if you really want to clinch to any of these tickets. If you're not doing that, you're just dreaming. Daydreaming.
I think what Priscilla is saying, just to put it in perspective, to say that imagine a man and a woman are required to run from Abuja to, let's say, Asaba. All right, and the man started 2 weeks ago. Maybe by this time he's already in, let's say, he's almost done with the Okene stretch, all right, of the highway. And then the woman is just starting today. Priscilla is trying to make you understand how much of work you have to do to be able to meet up with such a man. And at this point in time, it means sentiments and emotions must be downplayed. Exactly. And then she mentioned the word logic, right? Must be emphasized, must be amplified. And then, of course, there has to be a strategy. Because I grew up to know, for example, there used to be this very prominent musician in my place, it's sparse now, who said that, look, give a woman every day a man in pidgin language, give a woman a chance. But the thing is, I kept wondering as I grew older, when you say give a woman a chance, can we not create context for that? Are you saying a couple of men should step aside and allow the women? Because
It should not happen.
exactly, because even men do not give themselves a chance.
Exactly.
We'll see what's happening with the presidents now, Tinubu and Atiku Abubakar. Nobody's giving anybody a chance.
Atiku and Obi.
And Obi too. Obi have to leave the party. So men do not even give themselves a chance. So why would a woman wake up from whatever side of bed and say,
You can't just appear and expect these men to hand it over to you.
Yes.
You have to
work for it.
grab the
Yes, you have to go get it.
You have to go get it. And if you're trying to go get it, you know who your competitors
Right.
are. You need to come up with a strategy. You cannot start planning for 2027 by, after I see the electoral act. No, because these men are already planning for 2031 as far as we are concerned. So I think what Nigerian women can do right now is try to strategize ahead of 2031. Let them be part of, those that will even let them collaborate with those that will win. Let them make sure to be allies, friends. Do you understand? With those that will pass laws eventually. Because another thing is the passing of these laws, it's strategic too. People come together in the house and decide to say, okay, for next 2031, we need to start to work on the laws that will affect. And as much as you do not understand, as much as you feel like Nigeria is backwards, they have foresight. They know the technology that might arise by 2031. They might not implement it for you to start to use it. They might not make it part of the system to use, but they know how it will affect politics. So they already start to strategize so that by 2031, this technology would not be a hindrance to their success. So
meanwhile, you'll be struggling to learn the basics.
You'll be struggling. You may think that these guys are old guys. They don't know what's up. But they're going to use this. We're going to be advanced. We are technological, and they're using their analog sense to
control the technology.
Control the technology. So women have a lot of work to do. Like it has to be strategic again. It has to be systematic. It has to be, I don't know, we just need to stop dreaming. We need to face the reality and come up with a plan. That's what I'll say.
Okay, well, let's come up with a plan, but women need to put in more work. Once our guest rejoins us, we'll get her on the show. But one thing we're also learning is that financing is a challenge for women, right? Because democracy is expensive, and the case with the Nigerian process is not in any way different. So women have to also come with their own money bags if you want to compete with the men. Otherwise, you're going to, again, as we've seen over time, depend on the men to fund the process for you.
I also think that women like I mentioned to our guest, women are losing their power. There's the feminine energy that a woman brings. You cannot throw all of that away and want to embrace the masculine energy that is not, you can't compete with. A man is a man no matter what. You can't bring his own energy and outdo him. So you have to be strategic to know that I have to bring what he doesn't have. And when you offer what that other, when you offer what the man doesn't have, and maybe you'll be considered. When you talk about finance now, yes, money is very important, but we know that, okay, you have not worked so well, or you have been restricted, maybe due to family, catering for family, and a lot of things. You've not really been able to, make the amount, the required money that you need for an electoral process. It's time to, it's time to seek for mentorship. It's time to, be in alliance with those that have what you don't have. You have a godfather that has all the money. You play the woman. I'm not saying it in a negative sense per se, but there's this soft energy you bring to the table that a man feels, I want to spend on it. I want to invest in it. I think this very energy will give us a balance. You understand? It makes it home. It will make Nigeria feel, or Nigerians feel at home when I go to get this kind of balance that I do not have. When you come with, I can be this, and the man says, this other man can be it, this other man can be it, he will prefer the other man because he will do it more than you, no matter how much masculine energy you think you have.
That's right.
You just bring what is not available, and I feel like at that point you'd get an opportunity Yeah.
Okay, well, we hope women do get that opportunity, quite frankly, because whether you like it or not, Nigeria belongs to all of us across gender lines and what have you. But again, like we have extensively emphasized there, everybody must bring their own competitive advantage. And as they say, elections are not won on social media. We understand our guest has rejoined now. We're very glad, Zainab. Okay, yeah, we can see you right there. So, welcome back and thank you for your patience. Let's spend the next few minutes to look at one or two more issues. I was going to ask before the break if you are still in active politics, especially in light of the 2027 general election.
Well, yes, I'm in party politics, but I'm not running for office. As you know, I resigned from the APC and I joined the ADC. So I've been fully active and participating in that party. I was one of the members of the Presidential Primary Elections Committee, and we played an active role. And it was a very good experience, something that I have never experienced when it comes to party participation. So I can tell that, well, there are interesting times ahead.
To tickets, from the primary elections. And this is not just about the ADC, across other parties. But let's start with the ADC.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I said, how many women were able to come out victorious across, the primaries, starting with the ADC and then to other parties?
Well, I think parties are still struggling with the primary elections processes. There's been primary elections, but there has been disputes because after primary elections, there are a lot of petitions that have been handed in, from different aspirants. So apart from the APC that has come up with their list, because most of them, they were selected and based on consensus. For ADC, I really do not know the figure of women, but I know generally all over the numbers have been very low when it comes to women. I only heard of very few women. I know of the APC from Yobe State. Only I think a woman, Honorable Fati Talba, has gotten the ticket, and I know of ADC, Senator Ireti Kingibe from FCT has gotten the ticket, but I haven't heard of women, many women. And I think the NDC, the Senator Binani has gotten the governorship ticket. So these are just the women that I know. So I don't know of the full list, if it's been concluded by the parties and submitted to INEC yet.
It's quite interesting, but I want us to talk about the opposition in Nigeria, right? We see a lot of women in the ruling party, and that's not a surprise in a place like our country. All right, those standing on the mandate of the president, and then on the opposition side of things, we've also seen quite a number of women. But then there are those who say many of these women are just opportunists who feel they can ride on the sentiments of the public, who largely think that this government has not done enough in terms of fighting insecurity and better positioning the economy. Is that the case from your own standpoint, that a good number of the women in the opposition are just seeking opportunities to find relevance and, who knows, eventually and hopefully find their ways into public offices?
Well, I can't really say for other people. Many people have reasons why they join or why they participate. And what is in the heart of man is in the heart of man. So I can't really say. But if given a position or if given opportunities and you do not perform, then yes, you are an opportunist. Maybe that is why you're just there, maybe just to get the position and not perform. So far, I can't really say for women in government, because I know that there has been little to no funding, so there's very little women can do, and on their own they're trying to make, they're trying to create ways in which they can, do something about it. But yes, there are some people that just do it that just participate just because they want to be relevant, just because of their own self, actualization or self-interest or self accomplishment. So, I wouldn't know. But women for people to be in opposition, and maybe that is where they feel most valued. I left the ruling party, for example, and not because of what I didn't get, but because I did not want to be associated with what is going on. I believe that the government can do better, and I felt like it's not performing to my expectation, and I really do not want to be associated with that. So that was my reason. And like I said, many people have different reasons for being in politics, for being in, the corridors of power, for being in positions. They have reasons why they do that. And unless you do not perform, I just really look at you and wait for, I really don't judge until you prove yourself otherwise.
Mentors. Do you think women are mentors themselves to younger women aspiring to, run for offices and, hold political positions?
No, women don't really mentor that much to other women. They really don't mentor other women. And I feel like it is, I think, well, I wouldn't say we are our own problem, but we are not helping ourselves, to be honest. I feel like if only a woman understands what a woman goes through, and it is more, it sounds better when a woman really supports other women and helps them go up and mentors them and puts them in the right direction. But honestly, most women are not doing that. And this is what we've always been advocating for. This is what we're doing, especially me, when it comes to my social change advocacy. I really encourage a lot of women to take up women under their wings to do that. And very few women do that, because maybe because we have very few women there, and they do not want other women to come and also dominate and maybe push them out. But I feel like there's enough space for everybody to thrive based on what value you're adding. So I don't know what the fuss is about, and I don't know why other women are doing that, but we need to do better. We need to do more. We need to support our fellow sisters to be able to participate. Women of character, women of value. It's not just every woman, obviously. There's some men that have performed woefully, and they really have, because they've really abused, that opportunity, they don't really get to grow. So I believe women of, that value should be given that opportunity and be also held and be pushed up by other women. And once we do that to each other, the men will feel more comfortable to support us as well.
So thank you for this morning, Zainab Buba Galadima. We appreciate your insights as always, and we'll stay in touch as we continue to track all of these political developments and issues of leadership in our country. In the meantime, here's wishing you the best of the day ahead.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, quite an interesting conversation, really, especially when you have a woman who has been there, done that, as I say. By the way, I just got to know for the first time that she actually had moved to the ADC.
Oh, she had.
Yeah.
I saw her in one of the ADC meetings sometime 2 months ago.
Right.
Yeah, so...
So she has thrown away behind the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, and the rest of the leaders in the party. But for me, I think beyond party lines, beyond which party you are affiliated with, or that you're supporting, or that you're a member of, it is how you participate in the process, how you throw yourself into it, and how you shoot for the longer term. Because again, that's a challenge. Question is, what happens to the women who are in the ring now, so to say, those who are on the field, beyond 2027? Are we going to see you go into 2031, 2035, and on and on and on and on like that? Because democracy is beyond an election cycle.
Yeah.
It is a series of cycles, and we must continue to see women participating from one cycle after another. Otherwise, it's just going to look like all the efforts that these women are putting in come to nothing, but just only amounts to a flash in the pan.
It's also the ability of them to stay relevant beyond election periods. So elections will come and go, but how relevant are you?
Right.
How do you lend your voice to the democratic processes even after an election cycle? I think this is something a lot of women needs to take out of the show today.
Right, well, a lot to take out of the show, quite frankly, but we want to thank you for being a part of it in any case. And just to remind you that the views of all of our guests across all of our programs are their opinions. I'm Uyi Agumofwegbe.
And I am Priscilla Obasi.